Our first guest, GM of the Atlanta Falcons of the National Football League, an Ohio kid with a lot of Canadian football ties. Shout out the University of Guelph. Thomas Dimitroff is joining us live here on Tim and Sid Coast to Coast in Canada and on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Thomas, welcome to the show. We love that you've decided to jump on with us. How are you doing? How's the family? Let's start there. How are things?
Tim and Sid, I appreciate you guys having me, and thanks for taking me over tennis balls. It means a big deal to me. Thank you. I love hearing that.
Anytime. Any Guelph alum we put over tennis balls.
I appreciate it. Getting through the draft, that was a big thing for us, gents, as you can imagine. So being able to step back a little bit now and take everything in consideration, we're finished with most of our team building. Our roster is just finalized today at 90. We were keeping a couple places open, so it's good. Now, we just got back into our building yesterday, which is something I'm sure you guys want to talk about.
Yeah, it's interesting to us because obviously getting back into your building is a huge step, and it's one of the steps along the way to getting close to whatever the new normal is going to be. But you got to do it in these phases, and you guys are in phase one. Like, how weird has it been for you, who I'm sure is in that building a hell of a lot, to be there without coaches and without players to start?
I mean, what we did is we brought, we're permitted to have 75 people in our building from our organization. Now, you don't bring back 75 all in one fell swoop, as you can imagine. We started this week we'll probably have about 12 to 15 people. That is really focused on the operations side, right? So you're talking about the facilities side, where we are with food. We have to figure out that's a whole other complicated subject, how you're going to be dealing with the food element with our players when they do come back. And our trainers who are still training some of our players who are still coming in. There's about 5 that are coming in. Myself as a general manager, our president, Rich McKay, as well. But as you know, probably the coaches aren't allowed in and the players aren't allowed in. They may not come in until the second week of June if they do come in until training camp. We don't know that. It's all up in the air. There's a lot of uncertainty. And I will say today, my very first day back in, I was excited about going there. I got there to my office. I looked around. I had a mask on, black gloves on. I didn't know whether I should move left or move right or breathe on anything. It was a little uneasy, and it's going to take some time to get used to that.
Falcons GM Thomas Dimitroff here on Tim and Sid. The Falcons, like a few other teams around the NFL, as Thomas just said, opened up their facility for the first time in a limited basis yesterday. Your president, Rich McKay, you mentioned him already, and he put together a video that the Falcons official website or Twitter account threw out yesterday, and Matty Morgan of Tim and Sid, if you want to put that out through the Tim and Sid socials, do it. He basically walked us all through what it's like in your facility right now. And Thomas, I'm not going to lie, it seemed eerie. What was the feeling on your end today walking through a facility that hasn't seen a soul for months?
That's probably a good way to describe it. I think, again, it's a very free-flowing building normally. We're very proud of that at a lot of levels, figuratively and literally speaking, meaning that is our personality. That's Arthur Blank. That is Dan Quinn. We're an interactive group. We're a very collaborative group. Coaches and personnel interact, so we're all down each other's halls. We're interacting down in the weight room together, and we're out in the AP athletic performance area, in the food area. Today there were guidelines and restrictions. That's what we want to make sure that are in place when many more people start coming in. We're going to ease in next week. We'll bring in another 15, all the way leading up to 75 over the next 2 or 3 weeks. It's complicated, and it is eerie, and it's quiet, and it seems like the colors there, so to speak, are not popping right now because people just don't know how much they're going to be there. They don't know if they're supposed to show up, for a couple hours just to get everything set up in their office, or if they're going to stay there and start doing football work. In the end, right now, gentlemen, think about this. Everyone is so adept right now at working remotely, working on Teams and working on Zoom, that it's almost not worth their time to come into the facility until the players come in. And if the players don't come in, maybe it's not the best thing to have a whole bunch of people in there. Maybe they go in, do a little bit, go back to their house and work effectively like they have been for the last 8 to 10 weeks.
It's amazing, Thomas, because we've talked to a few GMs on the show over the last little while, and I'm amazed how you guys are attempting to prepare for the unknown and how that evolves each and every day. For you, what's been the toughest thing of preparing for the unknown as you guys do in one of the toughest divisions in football?
Well, I think our biggest thing right now, as you can imagine, I mean, if you looked at our acquisitions, we picked up 3 and a number of other free agents that we haven't been able to put our hands on, right?
Yeah.
We paid some big money to Dante Fowler, and Todd Gurley joined us. We traded for, a tight end this year and Hayden Hurst. These are all legit players that are big-time contributors, will be big-time contributors for us. We literally haven't put our hands on them yet. We have there is language in our contracts that are going to help us through that, as you can imagine. Until we truly get the physicals done, will we truly be able to confirm our acquisitions. But then you take it to the draft. We have, we had 6 draft choices this year that we're really excited about. We have not been able to have them in the building. We've seen them at the combine, of course, but that's where the uncertainty comes for me. Where we are with the physical side of things, their literal medical side of it all, how they're staying in shape right now. Think about that, gentlemen. There are only, as I understand it, I don't quote me exactly on this, I think it's about 7 teams right now that are doing virtual workouts. Everyone else is focused on the virtual classroom element. So they're trying to get everything done that way and letting the players, with our guidelines, but letting the players work out on their own. I don't know if you can get a lot done virtually working out, but I do know that you can get a lot in the classroom, and that's where our focus is right now. I want to make sure when the players do come in that they're in shape, and that's something that we won't know until they truly cross into our building.
Thomas Dimitroff, Atlanta Falcons GM here on Tim and Sid. Thomas, what is of everything you just laid out to us in terms of getting people in and getting your eyes on them and getting your therapists on them and your coaches, are you more concerned with how far behind the rookies are going to be, or are you more concerned with, I got to see how Todd Gurley is? Because as much as we all respect Todd, there have been some issues in the past couple of years. What's the bigger concern as a guy running a National Football League club?
Well, I think it starts off definitely with the people that you spend the most money on. Let's be real about it. That's important. And, along with that, as I mentioned earlier, a couple comments ago, the guys that you're expecting to come in and be legit, significant contributors on the front line are going to be really, really important for us. That said, I am thinking a lot about our rookies right now. The great thing is, again, I feel very proud of this group of rookies we brought in. They seem to be very much in line with consistency, discipline, accountability that we were looking to ramp up as we've gone into this year. And that's an important part of them being ready to come in. They're working with our coaches all the time, the rookies. But again, it's all new for them. So that's the complicated one for us, knowing where the rookies are going to be and projecting where the rookies are going to be. Our biggest thing is to make sure that we're interacting regularly, and we really stress to them the importance of them communicating with us lucidly so we know if they have an issue, we address it now and don't sweep it under the rug.
Does Dimitroff or Dimitroff sound more or less Canadian when we say it?
Well, I would like to correct you. My brother, I can't believe he says Dimitroff. It's Dimitroff, actually, not Dimitroff.
Oh, there you go.
I'm not sure. I would ask. I did a French Canadian a Montreal interview a little earlier today, so yeah. I don't know how they would have pronounced it. It might have been a little different too.
Yeah, I had Dylan's games every once in a while, so I know your brother goes Dimitroff, and I wondered as we were doing Dimitroff whether or not where you go. So how do we properly say it for you?
Yeah. One more time, Thomas.
Yeah, it's Dimitroff.
Dimitroff.
And that is the real way to do it. I keep telling Randy, like, come on, man, you should know that. And he's, Randy. If you know Randy, he's a character, and he loves getting out there. He's very proud of, my dad in football and our upbringing in football. So thanks for bringing that up. We'll get that right for him.
I had Dylan, who played at the University of Guelph, and I did those games for a while. I'm curious, though. This was the first time, I believe, in 13 drafts that you didn't make a deal. Was it tougher to pull things off in this environment than it has been in the past?
So most people thought that, and we had a lot of discussions before. What I had maintained was more teams were going to be discussing potential trades in the week before the draft to make sure that they had some semblance of a deal on the table. No confirmation, of course,
right.
But, to discuss with the 5, 10, 12, 15 teams that I did talk to of saying, look, if we move up to this spot or back to this spot, this is what I'm thinking. Okay, I'm kind of thinking that too. Let's talk about it on draft day. And that's how we approached it. The crazy thing was the first 9 picks fell basically into place like we thought. If there were to be a lot of movement in those first 3 or 4 picks, I think the first round would have been very different. I think it would have set a different tone.
Right.
I think because we got into the first round the way it did, I think there weren't as many, and then things just started falling into place. Believe me, I talked to a lot of teams, and that is my MO. I'm not patting myself on the back by being a wheeler and a dealer, but I am a firm believer on not sitting on your hands. I think you have to be aggressive in this business. It's a not for long league, as you know, NFL. And if you sit back and you let business deals go by you and don't take a shot at them, you won't be in this position for a long time.
Thomas Dimitroff here on Tim and Sid. Did I get it? Did I get it? I think I got it.
Right,
okay, thank you.
Thank
you. I'm a host on radio and television, Thomas. I'm extremely self-conscious. So please just praise me anytime I ask. It would make me feel a lot better. So Tom Brady's in your division, eh?
He is. And I maintain that he is the best quarterback to play this game ever. I worked with them for 6 years in New England. I have a great deal of respect for him. I have mentioned lately, I only pray a smidge of his focus is on Tampa Bay versus Tampa Bay. You've seen his business venture, of course.
Yes, we have. I know you spent time in New England. You spent time with Belichick. You spent time with Brady. Like, was any of you go anywhere else but Tampa? Our division is tough enough.
I'm telling you what, this division is incredible that way. I think with the way New Orleans is playing, and you have obviously New Orleans and Tampa Bay with where they are and what they have, the tools that they have, and then you fold in Carolina, who's got a new head coach, Matt Rule, who's a really good football coach. He's going to get those guys playing well. We have to be ready. I mean, plain and simple. We spent a lot, as you guys know, on this team, financially as well. We believed in re-upping our players, the Matt Ryans of the world and the Julio Joneses of the world. And we brought in, again, free agents. We've spent a lot on this team. And far from being in cap hell, that was what was reported earlier. We got really creative with how we pulled it all together this year. We like where we are. And we have to have high expectations because our owner has high expectations.
The president of the PA, Thomas, J.C. Tretter, was speaking with the Browns media today, and he brought up some points. And we've brought this up on the show a couple of times. He said this is a contact disease, and we play a contact sport. That's the quote. It's relatively in context. There's a lot more there, but I don't want to bore you with the specifics of it. I know that it's been all systems go from the NFL, but do you ever worry in the back of your mind that this season might not be all systems go and that you might not be able to get it in?
Well, the only thing I would like to say respectfully is I think all systems go is a matter of perception. I think in talking with the people at the league and then talking with Rich McKay, who's the head of the competition committee, who obviously interacts with Roger Goodell and Jeff Pash all the time. What we do know is all systems go because we want it to come back and we want to have a season and we want to play in front of fans, yes. But we are never going to put anyone in jeopardy. And it's one of the reasons why we are easing back right now. We are trying to learn as much as we can during this spring session, if that's what we call it, to see what we can do to make this easier. And not only easier, but more effective and efficient, during the fall camp during August, and to see if we can, manage how we hope we can manage to put games on the field. I mean, look, I think everyone is very mindful, and this is one of the things that's discussed. I mean, you have an NFLPA who feels very strongly, of course, and they should, and players. You have coaches who feel very strongly about their own situation and their own health, and they can't wait to get back. But you also have, there's always going to be people in that mix, not necessarily the players from an age standpoint, but there are going to be people that are more susceptible to COVID, and we know that. We're at least we're learning that. So that and how we approach that and how people approach that is going to be a whole other topic of conversation. What happens when people decide they're not ready personally to come back? That's a whole other topic, of course. So that's not one for me to get in the middle of. That's a different job, of course. But I hope that we all have a very mature and structured approach to this, and hopefully we'll be able to pull this off in the most healthy way we can.
All right. Thomas, how many of your players have communicated to you, boss, I'm really nervous about this. I don't know when I'm coming to camp. I have family members who are in a risk age. I for whatever reason. Have any of those players expressed that to you, or has it been 90 guys plus saying, when can we get back in that meeting room? It looked really empty with Rich.
I would say most have not expressed that to me. They may have expressed some of that to their position coaches, where I would expect them to. I think at times, and I think if we all put ourselves in that spot, we probably would like to be a little more conscientious about who we do talk about that to until we decide to actually do it. And it's an interesting thought, though, and we have regular interaction, of course, with the players, and we listen to the coaches disseminate information on how they have been talking with the players, and how they've been talking about what's around the corner. And there of course are some concerns. And I think it's more to do with the health of their families, right? I think there seems as though many of them are ready to come back, but they're also wondering on the other side how they keep their families healthy at home.
Understood.
Thomas Dimitroff, GM of the Atlanta Falcons, here on Tim and Sid. One last question, Thomas. Since this hit us all a couple of months ago, I've always felt that professional football, in terms of the order of things, was in the best spot, however you want to define that, in terms of coming back, because you could see what mistakes maybe would be made by other leagues, not to wish mistakes on other leagues, but being first in this is tricky. Right. Do you agree with the notion that professional football, I'm not talking about college because they have separate issues, your league specifically is in the best spot to kind of wait it out, plan it really carefully, and come back, and Lord willing, have maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 fans allowed, depending on the state? Are you positive in that way about your league?
Yeah, there's no question about that. This is an incredibly intelligent and well thought out league, contrary to what people want to throw around. I mean, Roger Goodell is incredibly intelligent and again thought out with his group. We all just have to be there. We all have to be mindful. And I do feel that we're going to learn a lot through all of this. And I feel on the other side of this, if we have a chance to do what I think we can do, then I think things are going to fall into place for us, and we will continue to learn. I know that we have some very strong governors on each coast right now, with Governor Cuomo and obviously in New York and Gavin Newsom out in California, and they are approaching this very, very well. In contrast that with some other people around the world that might not be approaching it that way. And I think with their help and others within the United States, for speaking to the NFL and some of the very smart people in the NFL, I do feel confident that we'll figure this out.
Hey, Thomas, I know you got a lot of folks up here and in these parts in Southern Ontario cheering for you. Really appreciate the time, and wish you the best of luck walking through this path that none of us have walked before.
Gentlemen, I appreciate it. Thanks.